What's up, everybody? It's the Life Inner Show. I'm your host, Jason Wojo. I am joined by Polish Peter Kolot, who is co-hosting this episode with me today. What's up, man?
Not much. What's up with you?
Hey, man, living the dream, right? That's
right.
That's it.
Hey, listen, this is really cool because there is no buffer between you and me now. So today is going to be a fun day for me. You don't have a buffer now today. So bring it on.
Is that what's going to happen?
That's what's going to happen.
Well, man, it's interesting you say this because today's topic, we actually have no guests. It's just me and you. And we're going to discuss something. Peter, so I wrote a blog post for Life in Air a while ago now. It's on the website. You can check it out. It's called Wanting More for Someone Else Than They Want for Themselves. And, you know, at the time when I wrote that in my life, I was dealing with a lot of people in my life that basically, you know, I want them to be successful. I want them to have the things they really want. They say they want, but it was really frustrating for me because they weren't taking any action. And they sometimes didn't even want it themselves. And so, for instance, like, you know, I'd have people that, you know, they're on the verge of a heart attack, yet they're still stuffing their face with burgers and fries and Mountain Dew. And then, you know, other people that are struggling financially, and yet they refuse to take responsibility for their purchases, and they weren't doing a budget. And, you know, I was giving them financial advice and they just weren't interested. And, you know, this applies to so many other areas of life. But it really bugged me, and I shared it in that article, and it's become one of our most popular articles. And so I figured, let's make a podcast about it, man, and let's talk about this because I know you have a big heart for people. You love helping people, and so I'm sure you've dealt with this as well.
So that was an article on Life on Air who was become the most popular article, and you wrote it?
Are you jealous? Is that what's happening right now? Am I seeing this?
How did that happen? How did that happen?
It was a ghostwriter. Yeah, right. Yeah, just kidding.
No, but listen, this is a really important topic, I think, that we need to discuss because of the fact that when people are going to coaching or whether they're just trying to figure it out on themselves to reach the goals, they create some kind of goals and they're not happening, right? The goals are not happening. And for us coaches, a lot of times, and we have to have this in the back of our mind, is that we cannot want that students' success more than they do. And I think one of the reasons is because if you do and they don't, nothing really is going to move. Not much is going to move. So what's the underlying reason? What's the reason why it's not happening for them? And I think it comes down to the simple fact that a lot of that, let's say the vision or the goals, or whatever they're going after, it's for them, it's a should and not a must.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times, like you mentioned, like the people who, you know, heart attacks are coming and they're still eating burgers, still eating fries, doing Mountain Dew and all that kind of stuff, because getting healthy for them at that particular point is a should. It's not a must. Because I've seen a lot of times, all of a sudden, the guy has a heart attack, right? And it has a huge impact on him, and for some reason, whether it's about his own health or whether it's all of a sudden he saw his wife, how she reacted, or the kids, or whatever it might be, or he just, the whole, you know, reality of him not living anymore hit him big time, and all of a sudden became a must, and they make a change.
Well, man, you know, I think that's one big reason. I think there's a couple other ones too, but like, we're talking about this in a coaching context as a coach, but like, listen, everyone listening right now, even if you're not a coach, I know you have people in your lives right now that you know what they need. You know what they need to do, and they're not doing it, right? And it's probably driving you nuts. And now sometimes this gets more complex because now their problems kind of become your problems, and you got to be really careful with that. Maybe we'll make a separate episode about that, you know, not letting other people's problems become your problems. But sometimes people just don't care, man. Like I've seen people with stage 4 lung cancer still smoking cigarettes, and they have no interest in quitting. And I've seen people that, you know, are you know 100 pounds plus overweight, and they have no interest in. And I don't know if in your case it's clearly a should. It's not a must. But sometimes I think people, maybe they don't think they can do it. Maybe there's some fear in there. Maybe they're used to doing things a certain way for so long that they are just stuck with this. You know, I hear from parents. I've heard a lot of parents recently talking with me about, hey, you know, I want my kids to be successful, but they moved back into the house and they're expecting us to pay the bills, and they're not spreading their wings. Like, what do I do? And we kind of have this discussion of like, you know, are you enabling them parents in particular, we want our kids to be successful. We want our kids to be independent. Well, hopefully there are some parents, I think, that have a codependent relationship with their kids. That's not healthy, but like, you got to know so we have really more than one issue here. Like, number one, what do you do when you want more for somebody than they want for themselves? But number two, like, what do you do? Like, how do you handle that as that person? Like, and something I've tried to do is like always let them know that the door is open, but I'm not going to support their behavior. Like, I'm also not going to necessarily, participate in it and encourage them with it either. Like, so some of you guys may know this in your own lives, where you ever have somebody who's kind of they're always making bad decisions, and they're kind of almost like intentionally self-sabotaging.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's the guy on the other side of the microphone.
But dude, the other side of the microphone is you.
No, well, they know what I'm talking about, okay? No, but yeah, I get it. Keep going.
So what do you do? How do you handle that? So like, let's talk, man. So first of all, we got a couple of reasons why people may not be interested in doing this for themselves, whether it's fear, maybe they're comfortable, maybe they don't want to change. It's not a must. Maybe they're getting something out of that behavior, right? We talked before about 6 human needs on this show with Chloe Madonis and Tony Robbins have a model of psychology called the 6 human needs, and maybe they're getting their needs met through their behaviors meet those needs, right? And their needs are being met through those behaviors. I mean, there's a lot of explanations here, and I don't know, is it even our job to figure that out, or what's our job?
Well, I think, if it's like from a friendship point of view, right? Not like a coach-student kind of a relationship, but it's, well, sometimes in a coach-student relationship. I think you mentioned the whole thing about the 6 human needs, right? And now a lot of times people do hang on to the bad habits or whatever it is that they're doing is because it is serving their top human needs, the human needs that they really value in their life. So whether it's certainty or uncertainty or significance or love, connection or growth and contribution, which by the way, those are the 6 ones, it's serving them. But I think a lot of times what ends up happening when it comes to the people in our life, we see that they should change. We know that they should change. Maybe they're talking about that they should change. And I think one of the things that happens for them is for a long time, there's like a blind spot for them. I think that happens that they don't see why that needs to change, if that makes any sense, because I think for me, like, for instance, remember my story, right? Up until my mid-30s, I didn't really know clearly 100% that I was a people pleaser. I mean, people were telling me around my life, my ex-wife, people in my life would tell me, dude, you got to stop being such a pleaser. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. And then
I'm not. I'm just a nice guy. Like, I just like helping people.
Nice guy. I just want to help people, right? I'm someone who wants to help people.
Yeah.
And I was frustrated in life because things weren't working, and business wasn't working, all kinds of different things working. And then until in one of the coaching conversations, I had this blind spot kind of open up to me. It's like, what? No way, right? I'm a people pleaser. And all of a sudden, that kind of a blind spot that opened up, it gave me access, if that makes any sense, to be able to take different actions because I finally saw how it impacted my areas of my life.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happens for people who are, one, hanging out this. One, it's a should, not a must. 2, maybe it's a blind spot, right? Where they don't really see it. Everybody around them sees it, but them. And 3, it's, helping with their top human needs. I think that's a big thing. And they don't have a plan of how to replace it for good things. So they just get stuck in that,
One of the things as you're speaking, I was thinking of too, is like, I think sometimes typically we notice these things about people that we really care about. And so I'd say that the top people that we see this in are our friendships, our spouses, and probably our immediate family, whether it's parents or maybe brother or sister or someone close to us.
Yep.
And I think part of the problem with that is that we're so close to them and we've known them for a long time, or we've grown up with them even, that they don't necessarily listen to us and they don't view
we have the filter on them.
Yeah, they have a filter on us. Yeah, right. Totally. Mm-hmm. And so for instance, I've had people in my life very close to me that I've seen destructive habits in many different areas of life, and I've never necessarily been super successful. And like you said earlier, you can't, well, first of all, like this is a line for everybody right now to realize, like you're not going to fix anybody. You have to be okay with this. This was something, especially like I'm kind of like you, Peter. I love, helping people and helping people have breakthroughs and changing their lives. And when somebody signs up for a coaching program, they're inherently giving us permission to do that. Like they're saying, yes, I'm open to you coaching me, but other people in our lives, they didn't sign that. They didn't sign that commitment. They didn't make that agreement. And so I think a lot of us try to coach people or fix people in our lives, and it's not really our place to do it. And that was a hard pill for me to swallow, because I enjoy, and I have a good track record, just like you, of changing people's lives. And we're like, okay, this is frustrating when we can't even do it with the people that we're closest to. And so my solution has been, I don't know what yours is, I'm curious to hear from you, is just kind of model the behavior that I think would help them and let them see me as an example. And sometimes it picks up on that and sometimes it doesn't. And you got to just be okay with that.
Right. I think modeling, I think, is a really good example. I think you're onto something there. One thing that you mentioned, and this popped up in my head as you were sharing, how many times have we seen in the mastermind retreats, wife shows up with a husband and all of a sudden the group is pouring into him and he's like, oh my God, I never realized that. And wife goes, I've been telling you this for years.
Right.
Or vice versa. I've been saying, because we all have these different filters on the people that we go. And then what ends up happening with a coach, it's a brand new experience, brand new relationship. You literally have not much of a filter there, and you start hearing things differently, right? So that's the first aspect. The second aspect is when you talked about coaching, I don't think people need to be fixed. I really don't believe that there is something that people need to be fixed.
Yeah.
What I believe is that as you've been growing and experiencing different things in life and different circumstances, what ends up happening, all this crap, for the lack of a better word, started getting on top of you, and you're carrying this thing around. And now it's just a matter of like peeling the onion, like uncovering this, getting this stuff off of you, right? Because deep down inside, I think you are the person who can make things happen. So as a coach, I don't necessarily look for fixing people. I'm looking for them to uncover some of the things that deep down inside, there really already are those people. One of my favorite things that I ask them, my students and people that I interact with, is like, let's think about it. What's your superpower? If you were to think about that you have a superpower, and they start thinking about it, and all of a sudden start discovering something really cool about themselves. But it's been covered up. It's been kind of like put away, sort of, because I had to become someone in order to make it out in this world. Right? And my story, man. For a long time, I was trying to not have an accent, trying to become somebody.
You're trying to be me, man. Work. I get it. It's cool. There's only one, bro. Don't worry about it.
What's that? What'd you say?
I said you're trying to be me.
Trying you. Yeah. I don't know about that. I mean, I like to have my hair, okay? No, but the thing is, that's what happens a lot of times. Think about it. People, most of the time in life, we walk around with these masks on, for, no pun intended, but we're not being the real us.
Not COVID masks, like disguises.
Right, but once we start taking those masks off, in a way, all of a sudden we become more authentic and we become real, and stuff starts to work. Yeah. So as far as like you having a relationship with someone, I would say that you go and ask them questions. Being there listening, like think about why is it that they're doing this, right? Ask them those kinds of questions. And in those conversations, it might actually open something up for them where they're like, you know what, I never realized that, as opposed to us telling them what they should or shouldn't do.
Yeah, those are a few good points, man. Especially when you mentioned earlier about being in the coaching room, like for instance, so what Peter's referring to is our titanium coaching program. We have these retreats, and the retreat is really like a mastermind, and you sit around with other people and you take turns sharing what your biggest struggles are, your updates, your victories. You ask for feedback, ideas, things like that. And anyway, so it's funny because you're sitting in a room with 20 other people, And when all those people are seeing something that you're not seeing, it's incredibly powerful. And so now to hear a perspective from somebody other than your spouse, like the example you brought up, is incredibly powerful. Because listen to it, we've all had that happen where somebody else says something to you and it lands better than it did previously from somebody else. And oftentimes that other person that we didn't listen to is someone who's closest to us. So that's really, really valuable. So get yourself around other people that would be some advice. Like get yourself around some other people that can give you unbiased ideas or feedback, or just you can model. Like you can just see what they're doing, and eventually it'll rub off on whatever that person is that you're looking to influence.
Right, but that's the important aspect there about modeling is you want to go and put yourself around the people to model the people that who you want to become. Not who you are, right? You modeling the you know, positive people, but who you want to become. And that's a really important aspect to really look at, because is that person that you want to model, are they just putting on the front, or is that how they really are? Is that the person that they really are? This is who I want to become. Not just in business, but as a person in general. Because when you start modeling those people, you know, not just the business, but everything's going to start coming across.
Oh man, we've talked about this before in every aspect of life. And so if you want to be fit, you hang out with other fit people that are in better shape than you. You know, if you want a good relationship, you hang out with people that have been married 50 years, those kinds of things. You know, the other thing you said was interesting too, as well as is discovering their superpower, helping them find their resourcefulness, you know, within themselves, not us telling them, right? You can't motivate anybody long-term. They have to find that within themselves. And one of the things I'll tell you is something that's worked well for me has been just sharing about other people in a story. And so I'll just in conversation, just casually bring something up, and they'll find the meaning for themselves. Like, so say you have some kids at home that are, they don't want to go out and get a job, and they're just sitting in the basement playing, you know, Minecraft, or I don't know, whatever the latest game is. I'm clearly out of the loop here. You could simply, you know, just share about some other kids or some other kind of related topic, and let them pick up the lessons for themselves. You don't have to lecture. You don't have to, and this is a big thing too. When you're talking to these people in your life, and I'm not just talking about your kids, like if it's somebody else, don't lecture. That's not going to help. You're not going to be able to lecture them. Don't judge them. No one is going to make any changes or feel safe to talk to you about something if they feel judged, or you're talking down to them, or you're lecturing them. And so all of this, whatever you decide to do here, whether you're talking about, we're talking about modeling, whether we're talking about getting around other people, whether it's talking about sharing stories and experiences with them, it all has to come from a place of love and genuine concern, but no judgment. Like it's just that you want the best for them. But here's the other thing, man. You have to be okay with them not making any changes. And, you know, and as much as it sucks, because, you know, I kind of feel the pain of other people's pain. I'm not going to say I'm like a big empath or something like that, but I have a buddy right now that's going through a terrible divorce, and it just tears me up to see him going through that. And so we all have those things around us, but we have to realize that, like, we can only do our part. We can't do their part too.
Yeah. And I think from what I imagine, you're just probably being there for him, loving on him, right? And if he needs something, you come and ask questions or whatever it might be, right?
That's it.
And at that particular point, you know, because he's going through a tough time, this is what he needs. And if you were to do something else, he might not actually be able to hear you because of what he's going through, right? But I think that the point that we're trying to make here for you guys is that, you know, being the people's listening, right? Like really be there for them, not be judgmental, because guess what? When you are being there for the other person, being in their quote unquote listening, you can't be judgmental. People who are judgmental are people who are over here with myself, like I'm better, I'm this, or you shouldn't do this, or you shouldn't do that, or you this, you that. And that's where the judgment comes from. But if you're over there loving on that somebody else, wherever they're going through, and by the way, here's the thing, whatever they're going through, you have no idea what they're going through. You know, I've had conversations with few people in the recent months where someone is telling me that other person in their life, they're being all of a sudden a big jerk. And they're doing all this, and they're saying this, and they're saying that, right? When I ask them, well, like, have they always been like this? Well, no, it's just been the last, month or two. So their pattern, how they're dealing with stuff has changed, hasn't it? Well, yeah. Well, then is it possible that what they're dealing with in their life, something that they haven't told you, there's something tough that they're going through, right? And that's how they're reacting to it. That's how they're reacting to this tough thing in their life. And when you start looking from that perspective, you go in there and start being curious and like, hey, is there something going on that I can help you with, or whatever the case may be? I'm here for you. I'm here to support you, you know?
Dude, that's a great point.
Different conversation.
So what Peter said, you know, being there listening, that's a term that basically means as much as you're able to, you are just submersing yourself into their world as best you can, and really trying to listen to what they're trying to say and hear them. You know, Peter, you're gonna laugh at me. I got a fortune cookie recently that said, and I kept it. It's on my fridge right now. It said you listen with your ears, but you hear with your heart. And I was like, wow.
You ate the cookie, right?
Oh yeah, the cookie's gone. I didn't eat the fortune though. I kept that. So, but it's true. Like, and when you do that, it's so important because listen, all these bad habits that people have, right? That, listen, let's not say whether it's bad or not. There are people who have bad habits. Okay, let's not try to make this PC. Maybe they're going through something. Maybe that person's smoking because they're so worried about some other part of their life that that's how they cope. Or maybe someone's overeating because they feel terrible about themselves and they're emotional and they deal with their emotional turmoil through eating, which, by the way, is a terrible way to deal with it because now you get in worse shape and you feel worse, right? It's a self-fulfilling cycle. But these people with these bad habits, there's something behind it, right? Or, I mean, of course, like we talked about modeling, maybe they got it from somewhere. Now, I'm not saying that we just, you know, passively like just encourage them to continue down a road that's harmful to them, but you just, what Peter's saying is like, listen to see what's going on behind that, you know.
Yep. Underneath it, the problem underneath the problem, right?
Right.
We mentioned this on the podcast before.
That's
when
right.
You start listening from that perspective, almost like you're being a detective in a way, right? You start listening from that perspective, you might actually hear what they're trying to tell you.
Yeah. You'll be able to say, yeah. And this is that. And by the way, that's where real change happens, right? And so you could be sitting here telling you want your spouse to quit smoking, but you might be able to find something that's below that. Like maybe they're grieving something, or maybe this work is super stressful, or maybe there's something going on that you don't know about. And if you can get to that core problem and really address that, the bad habit, the behavior is nothing more than a symptom. And as you cure or correct the underlying cause, so those symptoms will alleviate themselves. And so that's where real change happens. Anything else you want to add, man?
No, I think I'm just a better host. That's all I need to add to it.
All right. Well, listen, we hope you guys enjoyed this little back and forth between Peter and myself. This is a really big topic. If you want to go read the article, go ahead. It's just lifeinner.com. And it's wanting more for someone in between, and in between each word is simply a dash. You could just search it on the website and it'll pop up as well. Hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you did, leave us a review. We'd love to hear from you. Subscribe if you haven't already. And if you want to be part of the conversation, head over to the Life in Air app. You can get on your iPhone, Android, and we have a fast start kit in there for Life in Air. It's some of our best documents and resources to help you get on the road of creating a vision for your life. That's what Life in Air is all about, is helping you create a vision for your life and then putting the tools, the resources, the people, the things in place to get you that life. So until next time, have a great one, number one, and number two, love on people, and you can want all you want for them, but it all comes down to them wanting it for themselves. See you next time, everyone.